Dwight, how do you feel about turning 100?
100 is 1 plus 2. You can't feel that unless you go to the calendar and put your finger on it. How did it feel? Well, I don't know.
Here is somebody who saw it so far in advance. I mean, you think of how early this program began. I mean, that's what we can thank Dr. Bentel for, the idea that he just saw it coming and grabbed it and, you know, put San Jose at the forefront early in the world of photojournalism education and journalism education.
The department came out of his vision of what a journalism department should be like. He's the one that really started the photo program, for example. At that time, photo was taught in the physics department. And he started the photojournalism because he was a photographer as well. So that one year, he was named the outstanding professor at San Jose State. Now, you know, he's got all these accolades, but he earned every one of them.
I don't see him like a man that's 100 years old because he's still able to do so much. Serves his own dinner and does his own laundry, changes his own bed. I don't do any of that. And, you know, I want to do it for him and he won't allow me to do it. So I step back.
Well, good cameras or bad cameras, they aren't responsible for the picture in the showdown. It's the up here that takes the good picture, and yes, you must have had that happen to you. Hey, there's a good picture. You must have a good camera. Arr!
Actually, it was the Spartan Daily that first started out as a chair, a typewriter, and a table, and then later on, the department was simply built on that, and of course there were many things added after that, but certainly it was his will that brought the department about.
The best class of all was the one I took from Dr. Bentel, and that was called Press in the Public, and it was a 2-unit class, so I thought, well, it's going to be pretty easy if it's just 2 units, but it wasn't. It was, Dr. Bentel wasn't an easy teacher. He was fair, and he was very interesting, but he expected a lot of reading, and a lot of the reading were books I'd never even heard of. They were about journalism, the ethical part of it, the legal underpinnings of it, the First Amendment, and then he discussed them in class, and I really enjoyed that part a lot.
Then when he was younger, he would challenge anybody in the Spartan Daily to race across the quad. And he was a dash man when he was in college, and he never lost a race. He could always outrun those kids.
And I think that was the origin of photojournalism. The pictures are over here under my byline, and then the article about the mating is over here on my byline alongside of it. But as a consequence, I got they refer to me down there as a walking historian of Death Valley because I was wandering around talking to all of these guys, old-timers that are now gone, and all that's in record in the museums and so on. And I have a reputation down there as being a walking historian of that part of Death Valley.
Through the connection at San Jose State, I was hired ultimately at the San Francisco Examiner. We began going to the Philippines in 1984, covering some of the economic turmoil there. And Phil Bronstein and I made, I think, a total of about 6 trips back and forth. Long story short, Marcos had himself declared the president. The people took to the street. Marcos went into exile, and Corazon Aquino became the president of the Philippines. And we got to be there for all of it. That was the beauty of it. And it's the strongest experience I've ever had in journalism. And it's something that I would not have gotten without contacts I made at San Jose State.
Well, Katrina was the experience of a lifetime. It was the story of a lifetime. It's a story that will not end. The people who stayed and worked needed for themselves and for their community to tell the story of what happened and how it can be prevented and what's in the future, and continue to provide information on a daily basis that every person in New Orleans, and almost every single person in New Orleans was affected by Katrina one way or another. If you think of the city as 80% underwater, that's a lot of people. Everybody knew about Dwight Bentel and the program that he started at San Jose State. And because of that legacy, and because that he started something great, and the school was able to maintain that greatness through his hires and other hires, it's a true testament of his worth and his legacy.
Both Bentel and Joe gave me glowing letters of recommendation, and so the AP hired me upon graduation. And so I basically stake out the building, and I noticed one shotgun in one window, which proves that there are some guns involved. And once there were guns involved, there's the potential of violence, there's the potential of bloodshed, there's potential of death. And that makes it a major story, because that had not happened on a U.S. campus at that time. And it was a picture that just galvanized America at the time. And it also came in a news cycle with Sunday afternoon, so nothing else is going on. So Monday morning, it's everywhere. And I can remember 40 years back, Bentel up there with his white frock of hair and pounding the podium and saying, "The defense of libel it's truth. It's an absolute defense." And how many professors do you think you're going to have that you can go back and visualize, let alone remember 40 years later? And I remember him. Bentel carried a lot of charisma, and he was just one of these charisma kind of guys.
You take those pictures? Good for you. That's a nice picture. Only I should have had my mouth shut. Come on in, guys.
Well, there's lots of funny stories. I always remember one thing that somebody said to me when I first came there was, "Don't ever get in a car with him."
I rode with him once, and it was one of the most frightening experiences I've ever had. I mean, he didn't believe in anything being in front of him, and he drove with the heaviest foot I've ever seen, and if anything was in front of him, he went around it.
He's become a great friend. I would say a friend more than a boss.
So he's a remarkable character.
He has so many facets. There's just no end to the things he can do. Happy birthday to you.
Get in here.
Happy birthday,
Will you
dear
back
Dwight. Happy birthday to you. Yay.
Now blow the candle, Dwight.
Whoops.
You can still do it.
Look at that. Oh, happy 100 to dear Dwight.